What's up, people? I'm AY and you're watching Standout Food. Now in this video, I'll be braising some beef short ribs and serving them up on a side of polenta. Now I really enjoyed making this recipe, so I decided to break it down and share it with you. You're about to see the listing of the ingredients, so make sure to pause the video, write them down, and we'll be able to work through this together. Strap in and enjoy. Beef short ribs. Now, at your butcher shop, they may or may not come as part of a rack. They did at mine, so I asked the butcher to separate the ribs and then trim the fat. Now I've got my ribs at home. I decided to rinse them with some water, some lemon juice and some vinegar. Once I washed my ribs, I dried them by patting them down with some kitchen towels, and then I started to season my ribs. So I did that by sprinkling on some salt, which also works to soak up some of that extra moisture, and I also seasoned them with some black pepper. I drizzled on some olive oil and rubbed everything in. At this point, we are ready to start cooking our ribs. So what I did was I turned up my stove to medium high and I put my pot on the stove, added a bit of oil in the pot, and then I started to place down my beef short ribs, making sure to brown them on each side for a couple of minutes till I get the desired coating. And that really helps to lock in the flavor, which is why I like to brown most cuts of meat that I do cook. Once I've done that, I took out my beef short ribs from the pot and left the pot on the stove, but just turned the heat down to a medium-low heat setting. And that's because I was going to start to sear my vegetables. So what I did was I chopped my onions, and I made sure that I didn't chop the pieces too small so that they didn't burn during the cooking process, because braising can take a number of hours and you don't want any of your ingredients burning during this time. So I chopped my onions, and then I also chopped my garlic cloves, and I started to sear them in the pot for a few minutes just to get them to sweat. While that's cooking, I started to chop my carrots and I started to chop my celery as well. Once my onions started to go clear around the edges, I threw in my carrots and my celery as well, stirred that all in and let that cook through. Now it's time to start to throw in all of my seasonings. So I went in with my garlic powder and I threw in my paprika as well. I also threw in my thyme and also my all-purpose seasoning. And then I added in my tomato puree and I stirred all of that in. After a couple of minutes, I threw in my balsamic vinegar. Well, I think that's how you say it anyway, balsamic. Anyway, if I'm saying it wrong, correct me in the comments. And then I threw in a couple of my bay leaves. I let that cook together for a couple of minutes to let all of those flavors merge together. And then I threw back in my beef short ribs, stirred that up and let my ribs absorb all of that flavor that's going on in this pot. After a couple of minutes, I added in 2 cups of beef stock, and then I started to prepare my slurry. Now my slurry just basically consists of 1 part of corn flour to 2 parts of water, and I didn't even need a lot. All I needed was 1 tablespoon of corn flour to 2 tablespoons of water. I dissolved my corn flour into the solution and I added it to the pot. I stirred everything together, and then I covered my pot and let my beef short ribs cook through for about 3 to 4 hours. If you really want them nice, soft and tender and just coming off the bone, then you're gonna wanna leave it for the 4 hours. Now after your beef short ribs have cooked through, they'll start to look something like this. Now look, mine have even come off the bone, some of them. Now, our beef short ribs are ready to eat. But what we want to do is we want to get our sauce ready. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the short ribs out of a pot, and then we're going to strain what's left. And what you're going to do is you're just going to get rid of all of those bits. So you're still going to have your celery and your carrots still floating about. You want to separate that, and you just want to reduce the liquid that's left. So once you've strained our pot or what's in it, we're going to start to reduce the liquid that's left behind by turning up the heat. And once it reduces and starts to thicken, you're going to take that off the heat or turn the heat down, and you're just going to add your short ribs back into the pot and leave that to cook through and absorb. And we're just going to move on to our polenta now. Now, I bought my polenta from a supermarket which hasn't paid me for this, so let's just say that it starts with an S and ends with an S, but you can fill the gaps yourself. Now, I bought an easy cook polenta, so the grains had been pulsed really finely, which causes them to cook a lot quicker than otherwise. Now, some polenta varieties can take up to 45 minutes to an hour to cook, but this one cooks really quick and can get done in 5 minutes. So I'll walk you through the composition of this polenta. So what you want to do is take 2 cups of water and 2 cups of chicken stock and combine them together in a saucepan, and then turn up the heat. And what you're going to do is get that to a simmering heat, and just before it reaches that point of boiling, we're going to throw in or pour in 1 cup of polenta. And I just started to whisk it through at this point. I just kept whisking, not allowing it to set because I didn't want any lumps to form. And after about 5 minutes, you'll start to get your desired consistency. Now it's time to take it off of the heat, and to finish it off, I added in some butter and some grated Parmesan cheese, and that was good to go. The final thing I worked on before plating up my dish was to put my garnishment in place. So I chopped up some fresh chives, and then I moved on to my plating. So the first thing I plated was my polenta. So I got a serving spoon, put some on the plate and just spread it around. And then I added on my beef short ribs, and then poured on my reduced sauce. And then I finished everything by sprinkling on my chopped chives. And there you go, people, easy as you like. Some beef short ribs with chives served on some polenta. Now, I had fun making this, and if you end up having fun making this too, then let me know how it goes in the comments. But for now, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell so that you can get notifications when more videos like this go up. Thank you for watching, and until next time, take care of yourselves and peace.